Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of How To, sponsored by Home Depot. Just kidding, I just have a Home Depot shirt on today. We're going to talk about how to replace a sprinkler head today. Okay? All you're going to need for this is your new sprinkler head, the correct size threaded elbow for your inlet, and some plumber's tape. The only other thing you're going to need is a trenching shovel or a spade, and it's really not that hard to do. So let's get started.
All right, step one is cutting a rectangular section of sod around the sprinkler head that you're replacing using your trenching shovel. Make sure that you get deep enough to actually expose and cut the root of the grass so you can then flip it over and out of the way for easy replacement and regrowth after you're done replacing the head. So once you actually cut that section, split the pieces in half around the sprinkler head, and then use your shovel to pry the sod up and flip it upside down and away from the sprinkler head itself, as you see me doing here. Again, this ensures that the sod will settle back in once you're done replacing the head and regrow quickly and healthy. This is the best practice for being able to replace the sod once you've actually removed it. Also, remove any debris or rock that you find, including root as well. Another good thing to think about is getting a tarp to be able to take the soil that you're removing out of the way. Once you've got all the soil placed on the tarp, you want to go ahead and unscrew your sprinkler head that you're replacing. Okay? Make sure you double check that your inlet is the same size as the sprinkler head that you're replacing, which in this case would be a 1/2 inch inlet for my head. Again, I'm using the Orbitz sprinkler heads as you see here. And then what you want to do, again, is you want to reassure that it's going to fit and thread correctly before you get going. That says 1/2 inch. I've got a 1/2 inch thread. I'm ready to go. Next thing you want to do is dig out around the actual inlet and the remaining pipe that you see exposed here, ensuring that you don't hit any of the line with your shovel itself. You don't want to make any punctures, any more work for yourself. And again, you want to dig out so you can get a good hand or a good fist around this pipe. And this is because you're going to have to re-level the sprinkler head once you set the new head on here and make sure you have the right depth. Next step, you want to take your plumber's tape and you want to wrap a few courses of that tape around the threading itself and make sure it's nice and tacky on the thread so it's ready to go for your new sprinkler head. This keeps that head leaking at any level at the base once you install it. So you see here, I'm actually just making sure that the inlet itself is not covered with any tape. There's no debris left in it, and I've cleaned it out. And the next thing I do is go ahead and thread that sprinkler head on. Now, key step here is making sure that when you twist it on, that your arrows are pointing in the right direction on the sprinkler head, as you see here. Okay, so this is how to adjust the Orbitz Saturn 3 sprinkler head that I'm using here. First step is you want to take it out of the casing. So you want to unscrew it lefty-loosey, pull that out of the casing. Then what you want to do is you want to depress the spring so you're able to manipulate the head. And you want to do it this way because once it's installed, you actually have the capability of stripping out the components because it's actually made to do most of the adjusting before you actually install it. So go ahead and twist that thing all the way clockwise till it's locked in place. And then you want to take the common head screw and you want to adjust it based on what your radius is to be desired. Meaning if you want to make a bigger radius, you want to turn it to the plus side on the orbit, and it'll show you plus and minus on that little radius dial there. And if you want to reduce the radius of the sprinkler head itself, you want to turn it quarter turns at a time to the minus side. So I'm going to increase this radius to 180 degrees, so I'm filling both sides of the section of grass that it's going to hit. The smaller screw is actually a micro adjustment that you can do once it's installed and in place. And that actually adjusts the stream itself, and that's in the actual width and then length, or basically the distance that it can fire from the head itself. So you want to keep making those quarter turn adjustments whichever way you desire, starting with clockwise locked in place, and that is your starting point once you install your sprinkler head. So make sure when you set it in place that your starting point, the arrows are pointing at the actual direction that you started with from the locked clockwise position. Once that's in place, go ahead and start backfilling the sprinkler head itself, ensuring that you're leveling your actual drip line, your actual line itself that's coming into the sprinkler head, and pack it down as tight as you can get it so that sprinkler head is level, and then the depth is set correctly so that head is just below the surface of the grade before you start putting your sod back in. Make sure you get every ounce of that dirt back in the hole itself. And this is why you use the tarp, because if you lay it just on the grass, you're going to be scraping and raking to try and get it back in place. It's going to save you time and mess as well. So get all that dirt back in. Once you've packed it in place, drop the rest in there, give it one good tap with your hands, and then you can go ahead and set the sod back in place. And what you're going to probably end up doing is turning a little bit of the sod away from the sprinkler head itself to give it a little bit of room for the sod to grow back. You want to have a little bit of gap there to allow the sod so it's not pushing on the sprinkler head itself. It's super important that you do this. You want to have a little bit of gap there to allow that growth of sod. And if you notice, if you get all the dirt back in there, that your sod, when you lay it back in place, is actually going to be a little bit higher than the sod around it. That is what you want. You want this to start out higher. You want that extra soil to be pushed up. The next thing you want to do in order to get this sod to grow back and get the seams in place, make sure you tuck every edge down so the root has a chance to grow back into itself. And then you want to go get your hose and you're going to water this sod gently and then tapping it down gently with your foot. And again, make sure you don't wear flip-flops like I did in this picture. It's probably not a smart idea to be able to be digging holes with flip-flops with a shovel. It's a good way to cut your foot. But that being said, water it until it gets saturated enough that you can actually push down on the sod and it's squishy, and you can actually push it back down so it's level with the remaining sod around it. Again, ensuring that those seams are pushed up against the existing grade of the sod so it'll actually fill back in place. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and turn your sprinklers on and make those micro adjustments as needed. All right, guys. That's it. That's a really simple project, replacing sprinkler heads. Again, I used the Orbitz Saturn 3 on this one. This is what I needed. If you liked the video, find that thumbs up for me. Make sure you subscribe if you hadn't. And until next time, guys, keep building. Stay cool.
You can see the world the way it really is. Always.